What's up, guys? I'm back. Yes, I am back. It has been a pretty long couple years, and quite a bit has happened since I've been away from the YouTube space, but I am happy to come back today. Done a lot here in these last couple years. A lot of changes have occurred, marriage being one of them, of course, coronavirus being the next. But of course, they got my creative juices flowing yet again. I started a Twitch channel, which you should definitely go follow, twitch.tv/suspects101, link in the description. Don't forget to check that out. But really, the purpose of today's video is to talk about the DC fandom event that occurred yesterday. Now, of course, with the coronavirus being as big as it is and being the pandemic that it is, the Comic-Con event that everybody so loves to go to in San Diego was canceled this year. And DC decided to do something a little bit different to still try to get that influx of news out to the masses, that being the DC fandom. Now, while we got a ton of information, there really were quite a bit of different panels that popped up throughout the entire day, and they are rerunning those panels today. I am actually really wanting to hit just a few of the big main, I guess, points, if you want to call it, the big hitters throughout the event. So we're going to talk a little bit about Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman 2, of course, Gotham Knights, the Suicide Squad movie, the Snyder Cut for Justice League, and the Batman, as well as the Suicide Squad game, with some honorable mentions to Black Adam and the Flash movies, because they didn't really show much of anything for those. All right, let's kick it off with Wonder Woman. So Wonder Woman 2, of course, is coming out still this year. Wonder Woman 2 1984 is looking pretty good. They just dropped their second full trailer. There's not much really to talk about here besides them just kind of amping up the movie more, although we did get a much better look of Wonder Woman in the full Golden Eagle armor, which is pretty sick and actually is almost identical to the comics in a lot of ways. So it looks really good. I've got no issues with that. We had seen a few posters and stuff already, so we knew that was going to look good. We also got to see a little bit more of Kristen Wiig as Cheetah, though, and that is a little bit more of a surprise to me. It still looks very CG heavy with the moments of her actually as Cheetah, but I'm excited to see kind of how they play this out and how the fight goes. I guess that's my only real concern, is that I'm still not in love with the heavily CG'd up version of it, because at least the scenes that we get to see are really dark, so you can't make out a ton of the features as well as you'd like, and there's a ton of motion blur and all that good stuff, a lot of post-processing effects on the actual Cheetah herself. But I'm just stoked to actually see Cheetah in a movie. I mean, that's insane. Like, really? We're getting Cheetah? So that looks cool. Of course, say what you will about Steve Trevor coming back. I know people loved him in the first movie. Is what it is. I'm happy that Chris Pine is still in the movie. He's really likable and fun to watch. And
that's one I figure you are, but you know what? I'm ready to go.
I think we can do better.
Parachute pants?
Yeah.
Does everybody parachute now?
The role reversal of him being a fish out of water this time, where Diana is a lot more in control here, is going to be an interesting dynamic as well. That's all I got for Wonder Woman. Let's move on to the first game announcement we got from the DC fandom, Gotham Knights. Now, Gotham Knights is coming out of Warner Brothers Montreal. It's the game studio, I believe, that did the Arkham Origins game. I need to double check that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But either way, this was pretty cool. So this is looking like an action ARPG. I'll make sure to throw up some footage so you guys can see it if you haven't already. But the premise is that Batman is dead, and the remaining 4 children of the Bat, so to speak, you've got Nightwing, Batgirl, Red Hood, and I believe it to be Tim Drake Robin, because you do get to see something really cool. This game is going to have co-op. You get to see this drop-in, drop-out co-op session, and Robin joins in, and he's wearing the Red Robin outfit, which of course again is Tim Drake. And it looks like he's also wielding his staff when he fights. Again, another signature item. Tim Drake, not say Damian Wayne, you know, if it was going to be Bruce's son. So that looks really cool. Again, it looks like it's going to have some ARPG elements, some action RPG elements. There were levels to all the enemies that were being fought in the trailer. or the gameplay session. It was all pre-alpha footage, so this is stuff that is early in development, could change, you know, well between now and next year, which is the supposed released year. So they are saying 2021. They didn't drop a fall or summer or anything like that. My guess would be fall, but we'll see. If we get it earlier, that's awesome. But yeah, it seems to have this really cool drop in, drop out co-op aspect, which of course excites me, being a Batman fan and wanting something kind of like the Arkham games with co-op, you know, really wanting that style gameplay. We are not getting that here. This is not that type of game. So temper your expectations a little bit. It is a different style game altogether, just with, you know, the characters we know and love. Seems like everyone's got their own style of fighting. Of course, you're gonna move through expansive worlds. It looks like it is open world to some degree, just based on, again, the footage that we got. So yeah, there's not much else really known other than, again, Batman is dead. The villains of Gotham City are, you know, aware that they've got a little bit of freedom here, and you know, the Gotham Knights are here to try to put a stop to it. They are really pushing some mystery with the Court of Owls and something more. You know, they don't want to push out too many details yet. I mean, I'm gonna go down on a limb here and say that Batman's probably not dead. Just saying. Anyway, we'll see how we get what we get when the game comes out next year, if it does launch next year, hopefully. Next up, Suicide Squad. This is the movie directed by James Gunn and written by James Gunn, and I can't tell you how stoked I am for this. He has gone out on record multiple times as saying this is the most fun he's had, you know, directing and writing a film, you know, in years. So this massive cast that we have, and I'm not going to list everybody here because that would just be too much. I'll drop some screenshots so you can see everybody and their characters. It's going to be nuts. I like the style that they're going for. We didn't get a true trailer for the movie, but he gave us this kind of behind the scenes expose. You know, there's some, of course, movie footage, but there's a lot of them just in costumes or, you know, doing things out on set. It's looking pretty nutty. I will not lie to you guys. This looks really cool. Again, very massive cast. I mean, there's only really 2 returning characters from the other Suicide Squad film that we got previously. Got Viola Davis returning as Amanda Waller, Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flag, and Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. So far, those are the only 3 that we've seen that are returning characters from the other Suicide Squad film. So I'm curious to see how this goes. I really don't know what to expect. I'd imagine because of how many people are in it, we will get a lot more deaths this time. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like James Gunn a lot. I trust his filmmaking style. I trust his eye. And things are looking really cool. So more to come on that. Oh boy, the Snyder Cut. Justice League, of course, had its criticisms when it came out. Depending on how you felt at the time, people liked it more than Batman v Superman, or you didn't. I don't know. It was one of those movies that, going back and looking at Justice League now, what we got, really isn't that great a film overall. There are some nice moments, in my opinion, but the movie itself is definitely victim of the multiple directors. Of course, Zack had a very personal issue that arose during the making of that film, and he had to step away, which then led Joss Whedon to come in and take over the rest of the film. So he shot his own scenes, rewrote some things, changed things up a bit. Also at the behest of the studio, my guess, because they tried to make things a little bit more lighthearted and funny in some ways, and took out a lot of what the original idea, at least from Zack Snyder, was going to be, which not everybody is on board with. Again, if you look at Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, they had this very dark, heavily just like gray tone to them and things like that not everybody's into. And again, I'd rather see one continuous film with the one director's goal at least in mind, which I hope is really what we're going to get here. But the big details are, this is going to be a 4-hour cut. 4 hours of Justice League. Take that as you may. That's a lot of movie, but whatever. 4 hours worth of Justice League. It is going to be released on HBO Max in 1 hour increments. So we're not going to see this all released at once. is kind of what they're saying, and that we would eventually get a compilation of all of it at the end after it has all been released. Looking forward to it either way, but 4 hours worth of footage means we are going to get a lot more of what Zack had originally had in mind, at least tonally. Again, if it's a good story or not, we shall see, but I'm really excited. The footage that we did get to see shows off a little bit of Darkseid, which admittedly looks a little cheesy to me right now. I'm hoping with the extra money that they're putting into the film, some of the reshoots that are going on, that it will get touched up to maybe look a little bit more in line with the rest of the movie. It looked just slightly a little more cartoonish than even what we already had with the original Justice League. That's just my initial impression. Darkseid is getting a lot more time. We're getting a lot more from Cyborg, which I'm very stoked for because he didn't really get to do anything in the movie, in my opinion. More Flash, which I'm always on board with. I wasn't in love with Ezra Miller as Flash at first, but I'm excited to see how they push this and tweak it a little bit more to give him a little bit more depth. Just in general, more of the camaraderie of them coming together. And of course, Black Suit Superman, which, again, whether you like it or not, that just is really cool to see on screen. So I'm excited to see it. So be on the lookout for that. Again, it's going to release on the HBO Max digital, service. I believe that's 2021. I'd have to double check those dates, but be on the lookout for that. I'm pretty excited for it. Of course, I will give my full thoughts once the whole thing is out as well. Moving on to what I think is the highlight of the DC fandom yesterday, because it's only a tease, is The Batman. Matt Reeves' new take on The Batman starring Robert Pattinson. Man, I gotta tell you, I can't play the trailer because, copyright, blah. I'll try to throw some snippets of it up though so you can take a look at it. There's one moment particularly that I just love, maybe two actually, but the trailer looks bananas. I mean, this so far again is teasing the Riddler as the main villain. It is somewhat reminiscent of Christopher Nolan's Batman films, where they're grounded in this reality that feels like something like this could actually happen. So it looks a little gritty, it looks darker, but tonally it really does have this detective noir kind of feel to it. Maybe not noir so much, but this real detective spinoff that we haven't 100% gotten out of the live action films to date. They've had some snippets, some moments. We got a little bit of that in the Christopher Nolan movies, but at least this trailer is really trying to push the fact that Batman is a detective. This is supposed to take place during his second year of being the Batman. So it's not the first year, it's his second year. He's still a little sloppy, a little rough, around the edges. I mean, I gotta point out this clip. I gotta show you this little small chunk. Just watch it. Just see. Just look at it.
The hell are you supposed to be? I'm vengeance.
Woo! Oh man, it's beautiful. He goes in on this poor soul of a guy and just destroys him. I'm vengeance. Oh, so good. So good. Looking very good. I am super excited for the Batman. They had the Riddler question marks in the date for when it's releasing. I think it's still going to be 2021 personally. Maybe we won't see it next year, but I can't imagine that we don't, to be perfectly honest. So very, very excited for the Batman. I am all in at this point for that. I think it looks great and can't wait to see that actually realized on film and on the screen, because that's going to be amazing. All right, and then one of my final pieces from the night, the Suicide Squad game from Rocksteady. Of course, these are the guys who did the other Arkham games, the original Arkham trilogy, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight. They are moving on to Suicide Squad. Now, this was just a trailer, no in-game, gameplay or anything like that. So this is just a bit of a tease at this point. But it looks like it is going to be a 4-player co-op game that has you playing as either Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, or King Shark. So that's kind of cool. And you are going after the Justice League. From what I can tell from this gameplay trailer, and again, I can show some of it, but I can't go all in because copyright issues on certain things, even with a gameplay trailer. What you'll see is it looks like Brainiac has done something. He's of course invaded, doing what Brainiac does. Seems to be that he's either converting humans into these monsters or creating these monsters, and they're all over the city. So those seem to probably be our main baddies that we'll be beating up throughout the entirety of the game, besides potentially the Justice League, since the point of this game is kill the Justice League. Pretty cool little interesting thing at the end of the trailer. You see, you know, Superman come up and he lobotomizes this poor guy with his laser beam. So I'm thinking that Brainiac has corrupted or somehow taken over the Justice League, and that's why the Suicide Squad is sent in. That's my guess. The trailer shows a lot of humor, a lot of good banter back and forth between the guys. Captain Boomerang is probably going to steal the show for me in terms of his jokes. Of course, Harley is funny. She has a really good opening kind of moment for the trailer. So all of that looks great. I just don't know what to expect from the game yet. You know, no gameplay shown. So again, we don't know exactly what we're getting here until we see it. Chances are we won't see this game until 2022, 2023. You know, really. So don't expect this next year. I would be amazed. They didn't drop any hints as to it being next year. But if it does, hey, I'm all for it. More DC games to play next year is okay by me. And finally, we've got a couple honorable mentions because we didn't get a ton of details from these. There's some details, but we didn't get anything visually, really. Black Adam and the Flash movie. So Black Adam, of course, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, looking pretty cool. I mean, just the idea anyway. So he partnered with Boss Logic, who does a ton of digital art for games and other mediums, you know, film and all this good stuff, posters, all kinds of really cool things. He basically put together, with the help of a couple other people like Jim Lee, and there's someone else that I'm blanking on, so forgive me. I know he's got a team that he works with. Put together these cool little concept arts, trying to show off kind of at least what they're going for in the Black Adam. So we know it's an origin story. We know that the Justice Society of America is going to be in it, which is also really cool. And I'll tell you who we're getting in the Justice Society. But yeah, it's an origin story. Of course, it's going to show off some of those beginnings of Black Adam way in the past. I mean, because of course he's really old. And, you know, the bondage and slavery and him trying to save his family and what eventually roped in his ideals of justice and what that looks like and what that means, and justice by any means necessary. You know, Black Adam is not afraid to kill those that get in the way or do whatever needs to be done to protect what he feels is, you know, his people, his world. He will do whatever it takes. So the Justice Society of America that we're getting is going to have Dr. Fate, Hawkman, Cyclone, and Atom Smasher. That is super cool. Cyclone, I'm not so in love with. I mean, it just, I don't have that much of an attachment to Cyclone, even really Atom Smasher. But to see those two on screen alongside something like Dr. Fate and Hawkman, that's pretty freaking awesome. And of course, then you've got Black Adam in the mix as The Rock. So we shall see what happens with Black Adam. And finally, the Flash movie. Again, no real footage shown here, just a little bit of tidbits that we pick up on some concept art. We know that Barry Allen is getting a new suit, which, from the concept art, again, I'll throw that up, is looking, in the words of the director, which I forget his name, so I will put that up as well, forgive me, looking a little bit more organic, less of that kind of combat-y armor that we had seen in Justice League. So we'll see. I mean, again, it's just a concept art, so there's no real feel for it just yet. But that concept art does show a cool thing, which is Michael Keaton's Batman, which we did find out pretty recently that he is going to be in the film, as well as Ben Affleck. I am more excited now than I have been for the Flash movie. I wasn't at first. I didn't want them to start with what I think is going to be Flashpoint, which I believe might even be confirmed at this point. I didn't really want them to start there. But I can't deny that a Flashpoint movie, and the way they're talking about the movie being this jumping off point for the multiverse for the DC movies, that way they can have all these different spinoffs. And we know we already have two different Jokers we've seen recently, and the multiple Batmans with Matt Reeves, the Batman, and of course bringing Michael Keaton's Batman into this Flash movie, as well as Batfleck. This is an interesting way to jump that off, and I'm actually on board with that, because that would lead to some really cool and interesting films down the line, if we really do get these different mashup versions of the different worlds or different heroes working together in some way, or what that would lead to if we do get a major, you know, Justice League film again, or some Crisis on Infinite Earths movie versus the TV show, you know, that we had gotten. So really cool ideas here. A lot of interesting things could happen. I don't know what to expect. I know this is just their goal to maybe kind of jumpstart that portion of the DC movie franchise. This could be their way of really getting back into the mix here, because while Marvel has absolutely obliterated the box office, and I'm a Marvel guy, so I love those movies, I am super excited to see what we could get from DC with what we've heard here. That's it, everybody. I know that's a lot to cover, a lot to talk about. Of course, if you have questions, theories, ideas, concerns, anything, please throw them down in the comments. I'd love to talk with you guys about this stuff. I am super excited. I hope you are as well. If you haven't had a chance, check out, there's of course trailers and stuff out on YouTube. All of this Sunday, the 23rd, they're still replaying a lot of the panels. So you can check a lot of those out. There were some really cool panels. There was like the boss black ladies in DC Comics and them talking about their roles and what it means to them. We had a surprise comics panel with Mark Bernardine talking about like Image Comics and I'm blanking on the others at the moment just because there's so much that happened there. So really cool panel there. A lot of cool stuff that they did. This was a really interesting idea, the DC fandom as a whole. I think it succeeded. Some of it was fluff, you know, just pomp and circumstance kind of stuff here. But the idea of it, not having a Comic-Con to go to, but really still wanting to connect with fans and show them something and let them be a part of something, I think was stellar and an amazing idea. And they knocked it out of the park. You know, I'm surprised that we didn't see or have heard something from Marvel where they want to do something similar, because this is huge. Like, this is legitimately huge. This was really cool. Really enjoyed it. Hope to see more stuff like this in the future, even if we're able to go to Comic-Cons that they really make these things accessible in this way. It was really awesome. So highly recommend you checking out what you can from the DC fandom. Again, guys, I'm back. It will be not as heavily flowed on the content as I used to. I want to make sure that I stay healthy and in the zone as well. Of course, I am streaming now too. You can check out my Twitch channel. Again, link is in the description. Don't forget to check out my Instagram and Twitter as well. And guys, you've just been notified. Later.